All right, computer programming class. So we need to get some things ready for the beginning of the year. So there's some certain installs that you guys are going to need to get done for on here. So we're going to install some things so you can actually run Java. So just kind of a quick overview of this stuff, and this will actually be on a quiz later on. So you might want to make sure you know this. So we have two different things that we need to get installed. We have what's called in Java, we have what's called a JRE, which is called the Java Runtime Environment. It is what actually runs the programs and actually lets them work. Then we also have something called the JDK, which is also called a Java Development Kit. And sometimes you'll see it as an SDK, and that's called a Software Development Kit. It's really the same thing. Now, on the bright side, if you install a JDK, it automatically installs the JRE for you. Right? Now, if people want to run your programs, they don't need to have the JDK, they just need to have the JRE running. That's a much smaller install. Most people have Java installed on their computers. Those are those little pop-ups that you get say that your Java's out of date. That's what that is. So we're going to start out first by installing the JDK. After we get done installing the JDK, then we're going to come back in and we're going to install Eclipse. And Eclipse is something called an IDE. It's an integrated development environment, or sometimes people say integrated developers environment. So, and then this is going to be the program that's going to call the JRE and the JDK and actually do all the tasks for us. So this makes our life easier using the IDE than to do things directly in here. Now in the AP programming class, they're going to have to do coding directly out of here to see what that's like. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on that. So what I want to do first is you just want to have something like Google up right now. And if you just simply type in Java JDK inside of a Google search bar, and you're going to see they have what's called the Java SE Development Kit out there for you. And I want to use version 8. Don't use 11 or any of the later ones. They give us some grief right now. 8 works fine for us. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Java SE Development Kit 8 downloads. And if you scroll down on this page, you're going to see they have it for Linux and for Mac and so forth. At the very bottom, you're going to see Windows x64. It's a 64-bit operating system, which is what you guys are using with Windows 10. So we're going to go ahead and hit this little download right here. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and say download this. Now, I got to say I got to receive the agreement. I'm going to go ahead and say download. Now, you're probably going to have to do this is you're going to have to go out and create an Oracle account. So you're going to hit create an account, and you're going to use your school email address and create an account with your school email address. But I already have an account created, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Now that I've done that, Chrome has got it downloading down here at the bottom for me down here. This is a 166 megabyte download. Once I start running this, it's actually going to go out and run and peg the internet some more for you. So I'm going to go ahead and run this down here at the bottom in my browser. And this popped up on my other screen, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes, I want to install it. All right. And another window is going to pop up at this point right here, and we're just going to next through this wizard right now. And you'll see this development tools and all these other pieces. Go ahead and just next and let all those things happen. And if you saw in there, it said public JRE. That's the runtime environment. It's installing that for you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let this run for a little while, and I'm going to come back here in just a second. All right, so a little pop-up popped up here. It's asking us about the destination folder. I would go ahead and let it run right in that location where it wants to go right now. So I'm going to hit next. And then you're going to see another pop-up come up here with the installation progress. Okay, so that's now finished installing for me, so I'm going to go ahead and hit close at this point. All right, and my JDK should now be installed on my computer. All right, so the next piece then we talked about, so the JDK automatically installed the JRE for me. I'm now going to move over here and we got to install an Eclipse IDE. So I'm going to come back to my Google document right here, right? So let's go ahead and I'm going to do a quick search, and I'm going to type in Eclipse IDE. All right. And when we do this, we're going to come out, you'll see the first link up here is eclipse.org. Eclipse is freeware for you to do this. So I can go ahead and hit download right now. We're going to use our desktop IDE. And I'm going to go ahead and say get Eclipse IDE 2020-06. So this is the June of 2020 version of IDE. They used to use different names. They started doing it now off of dates. So that one should be sufficient. I'm going to go ahead and say download 64-bit. And it's going to ask me where do I want to download it from. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and let it. I'm going to run mine from Canada here. It's fine. Go ahead and let them run where they want to. It's going to pop up in here because this is a freeware. They work off of donations here. That's up to you. If you'd like to make a donation to them of some type, you may if you wish. but you don't need to. And if you look down here in my taskbar down here, it shows that Eclipse installer actually downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and give that a second to get started up here. So I actually have on another screen a little splash screen came up, says Eclipse installer, and as soon as I get a chance I'll move this over to the other screen. There it is. So there's the Eclipse installer, and what we're going to do, there's all kinds of different versions of Eclipse. We're going to use the top one, the Eclipse IDE for Java developers. So we're going to go ahead and click on that one and just go ahead and let it install where it wants to install to right now, and go ahead and do your install. I'm going to say accept. And we're going to go ahead and let that go off and run for us now. Okay, so we have a pop-up that popped here. It says unsigned content. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accept the unsigned content to go ahead and let it be installed. It should be okay. And it'll continue on with our installation. All right, so Eclipse is now finished installing. It actually didn't take very long. I guess it's going to depend on how fast your internet connection is for you. It's created a start menu entry for me, a desktop shortcut as well. It's going to give me the option right now to go ahead and launch Eclipse. So I'm going to go ahead and launch it. And this is popping up on another screen. I'll pull it over here in a second. And you're going to get this screen right here that's going to pop up to you. It's going to say Eclipse IDE uses the workspace directory to store its preferences and development artifacts. This is going to be very important that you switch this right now. So what I want you to do is we're going to open up a file explorer right here, and I want you to go into your documents folder, and I want you to make a folder inside of here. All right, so we're going to do a new folder, and I want you to call this Java files. All right, and that's where we want all of your Java files to be saved to. If you leave it go to where they want to put it to, it's going to frustrate you to no end to try to find these things. So now that I've created that Java files folder, I'm going to hit Browse right here, and I'm going to pop over here to my Documents, and I'm going to click on the Java files folder right there, and I'm going to hit Select Folder, and now it's got it in there, and I'm going to say Use this as default and do not ask again. That'll save you a lot of headache. Make sure you check that off and hit Launch. All right, so now Eclipse is starting to pop up on my other screen. Takes a little while to get started sometimes. Alright, so here it is. Eclipse is now popped up for me. And they have some different things that you can work through in here if you wish. But essentially we want to be on the workbench. And you can check this if you want this little welcome to pop up every time. And they also have these tutorials and other pieces that are worth maybe taking a look at. I'm going to go ahead and just hit my workbench right now. It's going to pop me out to my workbench, and we can play around with the settings on this a little bit here. Honestly, I don't think you're going to have a need for a task list. So what I'm going to recommend is we're going to minimize that so it goes away. And I don't feel like you're going to have a need for the outline over here for what we're doing, so we're going to minimize that. We're going to open up as much landscape here for us, as much real estate as we can see to work on. And then we can minimize this Package Explorer window over a little bit, shrink it down. So you really only need the Package Explorer. We're going to need, this is where your editor is going to be that we're going to do work in. And then down here is where we're going to actually, it's going to be our, it's going to show us our runtime environment, and it's going to show us our errors and other things like that. So you should be good to go now. And then at this point, you'll be ready to roll, and we can go ahead and start teaching you Java here on out. All right, make sure that you post an image of this window to your assignment in Canvas. Thanks a lot, guys.